Welcome back, traders, to my market outlook on index futures for the week of October 20th. Last week, the market was kind of difficult to trade, and I'll get into the charts soon, but I first want to take a look at the economic calendar for this week to see which days we can expect volatility. Now, glancing through, there's no high impact news on Monday or Tuesday. We do have a high impact on Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. And then Thursday, we also have a couple, one at 8:30, 9:45, and also at 10 o'clock. And then looking at Friday, we have one more at 8:30, but nothing else out of the ordinary. So I expect most of this week's volatility to happen on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm also looking for Monday to be mostly consolidation in order to build up the orders and liquidity for the week. Then Tuesday, I expect some kind of manipulation where it takes out one side before it shows us where it really wants to go on Wednesday and Thursday. Now going into the weekly chart for S&P, for the past many weeks, we've been on a bullish run. We respected this fair value gap and have continued higher, creating another fair value gap as well as a couple of volume imbalances. So this could be saying, hey, I want to accelerate even higher. But make sure you keep an eye on these inefficiencies, especially this fair value gap, because price will want to return to these sometime in the future. But right now, there's no indication of price reversing, and as long as we stay above half of this weekly fair value gap, I'll keep a bullish bias on the weekly time frame. Going down to the daily chart, last week we pretty much traded in a range. Thursday did take out Monday's high, but then went back within the range. And you'll soon see that Nasdaq did not take out its Monday's high, so we do currently have divergence on the highs between the two indices. Also, you can see that the body of Friday's candle is respecting half of this wick. So I have two bearish indicators so far on the daily. So in the short term, I think I want to look for ES to return to the weekly fair value gap, and depending on how price behaves here will determine my future bias. But the weekly is still bullish, so I will want to see price stay in the upper half of this fair value gap and then make another run for the highs. Moving on to Nasdaq, on the weekly chart you can see that we are still currently bullish, but it's not as strong as S&P. There are a couple volume imbalances, but no fair value gaps. Also, last week we did get an indecisive candle, and I was keeping my eye on this weekly order block, especially at the mean threshold, and I was waiting to see if the week will close above or below. Well, it did close below, so this order block is still valid for me. So going into this week for Nasdaq, I want to have a neutral bias because I can see us going in either direction. But personally, I want to lean towards the downside because I've been seeing these equal lows for the past couple of months, but currently there's no clear indication on the weekly to where price really wants to go, so I'll have to lean on the lower time frames for more information. On the daily chart, I'm zooming in on the most recent price action. Now Monday rallied up to the daily bearish order block, and then Tuesday we had a drop below Monday's low and back into a daily volume imbalance. Wednesday was somewhat indecisive, then Thursday we had a rally and then decline within the weekly range, but you can note that it did not take out Monday's high. And then Friday we did rally, but pretty much closed at the middle of the weekly range. So last week was a tough trading week with a lot of ups and downs, but no real expansion outside of the range. Now going into this week, I said on the weekly chart that I want to have a neutral bias because we can go either direction. However, on the daily chart, I have multiple things that indicate that order flow should be towards the downside. Monday and Tuesday showed that price is respecting that daily order block that I mentioned in my last few videos. Then Thursday had a large upper wick, so this shows us a nice reaction to the downside. And if you take half of the wick, we can see that Friday's body is respecting half of that wick. And at the same time, Friday's high stopped right at the mean threshold of that weekly order block. So I see a lot of respect for premium arrays, and if price is indicating that it is not willing to go up, then it can only go down. If we do start dropping, I want to first aim for this low and see if we can get any acceleration for these relative lows. Also, I'm not expecting another stop hunt on the daily chart because we've already touched so many of these premium arrays, but it's definitely not out of the question for price to come up and take out these highs, and then later it can drop off a cliff. So my final thoughts for this week. I'm slightly bullish on S&P, but I'm bearish on Nasdaq. This gives me mixed signals for both indices, so I think the best course of action is to start the week off with a neutral bias and see how the price action develops on Monday and Tuesday. I want to take advantage of volatility on Wednesday and Thursday, but there needs to be a setup and a clear narrative on where price is wanting to go. So I hope you find this insightful. Please leave this video a like to help support this channel. And I do anticipate putting out a market update this week, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. But until next time, guys, safe trading.